A warm welcome to the EMIG Summer School 2026, held under the guiding principle, Engineers Made in Germany. When we talk about the future of engineering and industry today, we can no longer think in linear steps. We are on the brink of an era where technological developments do not just add up, but exponentially accelerate one another. In this video, Charting Technological Emergence, we will take a data-driven look at the fundamental shifts that will radically transform our economy, security, and society by the end of this decade. Join us as we analyze the core forces shaping tomorrow. What exactly do we mean by technological emergence? We are not talking about the classic, incremental engineering steps common in traditional industries. Emerging technologies are true breakthroughs marked by radical novelty, fast growth, and systemic coherence. Looking at the hard data, this trend is empirically tracked by R&D expenditure growth, consistently exceeding 10% annually in key sectors. Because of this intense velocity, the transition from a laboratory prototype to commercial viability compressed into remarkably short 5 to 10-year windows. These innovations frequently originate from interdisciplinary scientific networks, bypassing traditional performance constraints and creating unforeseen qualitative shifts. By 2030, economic multipliers project trillions of dollars in global value addition from the convergence of these tech stacks. However, this rapid pace introduces high ambiguity regarding scalability, regulatory frameworks, and long-term societal effects, requiring engineers to navigate deep uncertainty. To make this disruption tangible, we must look at the specific metrics that quantify it. True disruptive potential is measured by outperforming incumbent technologies by factors of 10x or more in cost or speed. When plotting technological capability against human intuition, we see a massive divergence. While human intuition naturally expects linear growth, technological capabilities follow an exponential curve. These underlying improvements mirror Moore's law, effectively doubling capabilities every 18 to 24 months. Performance trajectories are empirically tracked via logarithmic plots of computational capability versus time. Once a technology reaches a critical mass, network effects and ecosystem dependencies exponentially amplify adoption. This dynamic follows an S-curve, starting with slow initial uptake before triggering rapid, exponential market penetration. Investment velocity serves as an excellent early indicator, with massive VC inflow signaling market anticipation of imminent breakthroughs. Yet, a major challenge is the regulatory lag, which highlights emergence when proof of concept to final approval timelines compress dramatically. A look at history demonstrates how fast the wheel of time is spinning in the 21st century. Pre-2000 foundations, like the 1947 transistor and 1973 recombinant DNA, relied on linear, discrete component scaling. However, post-2000 R&D spending accelerated rapidly, tripling from $900 billion in 2000 to over $2.5 trillion globally by 2023. Consequently, the historical interval between major technological innovations compressed from decades to mere years or months. Look at AI training compute. Post-2010, it broke from standard Moore's law, shifting to a stunning 4.05x annual exponential increase. Similarly, human genome sequencing costs plummeted from $100 million in 2001 to under $600 by 2023, unlocking biodata scale. Modern milestones occur at extreme velocity, such as AlphaGo's 2016 victory achieved after only months of self-training. Today, global diffusion intensifies as 64 distinct key domains experience simultaneous patent and publication surges, proving that innovation is now fully interconnected. Behind this massive acceleration are powerful economic drivers and a phenomenon known as NBIC convergence. This represents the integration of nano, bio, info, and cognitive sciences into entirely novel capabilities. Economic incentives fuel this emergence, with VC-backed deep tech firms raising over $80 billion in the first quarter of 2025 alone. Government agencies like DARPA and the NSF play a critical role here, absorbing early-stage risks long before private capital can scale the technology. Through interdisciplinary synergies, these fields accelerate each other. For instance, AI computational models are massively accelerating synthetic biology simulations. In healthcare, nanoscale delivery systems are successfully merging with AI-driven diagnostics to enable real-time medical monitoring inside the body. Simultaneously, brain-computer interfaces actively decode neural signals using a fusion of microelectronics and machine learning. Ultimately, this convergence transforms incremental advances into disruptive, self-reinforcing innovation feedback loops. Let us focus on the first core technological pillar, artificial intelligence and machine learning. By definition, these are computational systems that improve performance through data experience and pattern recognition rather than explicit instruction. The key breakthrough driving recent growth is the transformer architecture and scaling laws, which enabled multimodal foundation models integrating text, vision, and audio. The market has responded powerfully, with the global machine learning market reaching $113.1 billion in 2025, capturing 46.4% of total venture capital funding. However, severe limitations remain. Current systems lack causal understanding, struggle heavily with extrapolation, and exhibit severe brittleness to adversarial perturbations. Furthermore, we face a massive scaling hurdle. Frontier model training consumes energy equivalent to thousands of households, severely straining global power grids. Despite these bottlenecks, the next major milestone is ahead: the deployment of autonomous agentic AI systems capable of unsupervised, multi-step reasoning and tool use by 2030. The second pillars are biotechnology and synthetic biology. This field focuses on engineering biological processes and constructing novel, programmable cellular systems that do not exist in nature. The defining breakthrough was CRISPR-Cas9, which enabled high-precision targeted DNA modifications and earned the 2020 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Coupled with extreme genomic sequencing cost reductions, this technology now allows for AI-optimized guide RNA designs that achieve up to 90% accuracy. Despite this promise, major limitations persist, including delivery inefficiencies into target tissues, off-target genetic effects, and prohibitive treatment costs, often exceeding $2 million per patient. However, real clinical validation is occurring. The first CRISPR-based therapy, Casgevy, was FDA approved in 2023, achieving over 90% sustained remission in trials. Looking forward, the next future milestone will involve entirely synthetic eukaryotic genomes and AI-designed proteins, unlocking highly customized therapies and advanced industrial biomanufacturing. An equally radical shift is happening in quantum computing, tightly linked with advanced materials. Quantum computing exploits quantum mechanics, specifically superposition and entanglement, to process information with exponential algorithmic speedups. The primary key breakthrough is the demonstration of below-threshold error correction, where logical error rates reliably decrease as the physical scale increases. Investor confidence is soaring, with quantum startups securing a record $1.9 billion in 2024, driving the transition from theoretical proofs to hybrid workflows. However, the major limitation remains extreme decoherence and noise, which require millions of unstable physical qubits to yield just thousands of reliable logical qubits. This is where materials act as an enabler. High-temperature superconductors and 2D nanomaterials like graphene extend qubit lifetimes by reducing quasi-particle poisoning. The roadmap points to a definitive future milestone: the deployment of the first large-scale fault-tolerant quantum computer utilizing modular surface code implementations by 2029. All these computing systems and industries require a clean, dense foundation, next-generation power generation and storage systems engineered to achieve net zero emissions and extreme energy density. A historic key breakthrough occurred in 2022 when a scientific break-even fusion ignition successfully produced 3.15 megajoules of energy from 2.05 megajoules of laser input. In parallel, nuclear fission is modernizing rapidly, with over 74 small modular reactor, or SMR, designs actively under development, promising factory fabrication and baseload reliability. Still, we face major physical limitations. Fusion faces persistent plasma containment hurdles, while solid-state batteries struggle with dendrite formation at scale, causing short circuits. On the renewable front, a major leap is visible. Perovskite solar tandem cells achieved 31% efficiency, outperforming traditional silicon despite ongoing durability challenges. By the late 2020s, the future milestone will be commercial pilot deployments of SMRs and solid-state EV batteries achieving over 600-mile ranges. Our technological reach is also expanding far beyond Earth's atmosphere. Space and aerospace innovations are defined by reusable launch vehicles, hypersonic flight architectures, and vast orbital infrastructure networks lowering the barrier to space. The monumental key breakthrough has been routine first-stage booster recovery and iterative rapid prototyping, which drastically reduced payload costs below $3,000 per kilogram to low Earth orbit. This economic shift is evident in the market data, with mega constellations reaching over 8,400 operational satellites by 2025, boosting global peak-hour broadband speeds by 50%. Naturally, this growth hits major limitations. Orbital debris density now requires daily controlled deorbits, while deep space missions face severe radiation shielding hurdles. Yet, the aerospace leap is undeniable, as reusable hypersonic test vehicles achieved sustained speeds of Mach 5 or more, validating advanced thermal protection materials. Looking ahead, the next milestone by 2027 targets NASA's Artemis program and commercial super heavy lift vehicles, aiming for a sustainable lunar presence and uncrewed Mars landings. Where information, cognitive and material sciences physically manifest is in robotics and automation systems. These are programmable machines and bipedal systems integrating AI for precise perception, decision-making, and unstructured physical adaptability. The core breakthrough here is the transition from rigid hydraulic systems to all-electric actuators, driven by vision-based end-to-end neural network learning. The market data highlights its commercial relevance, with the industrial robotics market hitting $17.7 billion in 2024, and collaborative robots, or cobots, expanding at a rapid 31.6% compound annual growth rate. In logistics, autonomous mobile robots have revolutionized warehousing by using onboard lasers to navigate dynamic, unpredictable environments. However, a major limitation persists. Despite physical agility, systemic deployment remains largely confined to controlled pilots due to edge case handling failures. This brings us to an imminent future milestone: general-purpose humanoid robots scaling toward commercial production for unstructured domestic and construction tasks starting right now in 2026. Having seen these incredible technologies, we must now perform a critical diagnostic, weighing the media hype against empirical reality. The promises of the past were grand. The AI promise predicted immediate deployment of generalized AI capable of unsupervised, human-level reasoning across all domains. The reality, however, shows that systems excel at interpolation but fail at causal extrapolation, with benchmarks showing persistent, highly confident hallucination risks. In autonomy, we were promised widespread consumer deployment of Level 5 fully autonomous vehicles by 2018. In reality, Level 4 geofence deployments are delayed to 2030 or later due to unresolved edge case liabilities and physical sensor barriers. The quantum promise of immediate cryptographic disruption also clashes with a reality where practical applications remain strictly limited to niche simulations on unstable, noisy intermediate scale, or NISQ, devices. Finally, in biotechnology, despite CRISPR's 2012 discovery, high off-target effects restrict clinical successes to a handful of highly targeted approvals. True emergence requires looking past the hype to solve the hard engineering constraints. Why do we encounter these delays? Because every technology eventually encounters scaling barriers and physical limits. Transistor density improvements face physical stagnation at sub-2 nanometer nodes due to quantum tunneling and severe heat dissipation. Simultaneously, AI model performance requires exponentially increasing compute, with frontier training runs doubling in cost and size every 5 months. This massive energy consumption demands an additional 10 gigawatts for global AI data centers by 2025, heavily straining fossil-dependent grids. We also face manufacturing bottlenecks, as fabrication yields at leading-edge semiconductor nodes remain below 80%, bottlenecking the advanced global chip supply chain. Furthermore, rare earth element dependencies create critical vulnerabilities for both quantum hardware manufacturing and EV battery production. Finally, prolonged environmental permitting and talent shortages delay infrastructure scaling, severely lagging behind a 4x annual compute growth. To bypass these fundamental physical limits, acceleration strategies are pivoting to modular 3D chiplet integration and AI-driven materials discovery. These physical limits and technological dependencies have turned into an intense geopolitical dual and security dynamic. Both the US and China view emerging tech supremacy as an existential requirement for military and economic dominance. Their strategies differ significantly. The US strategy relies on private sector dynamism to lead foundational AI and quantum prototypes, heavily subsidized by the $52 billion CHIPS Act. Defensively, the US employs export controls that severely restrict advanced AI hardware and EUV lithography tools to delay rival modernization. Conversely, China's strategy focuses on state-directed investments, dominating manufacturing-heavy fields like batteries, 5G, and rapid commercial AI deployment. The security risk is intensified by dual-use advancements, where civilian innovations seamlessly enable military capabilities, ranging from AI drone reconnaissance to quantum-resistant decryption. Offensively, widespread state-sponsored intellectual property theft targets Western semiconductor designs and biotech sequences. These geopolitical rivalries risk permanently fracturing global technology standards and accelerating gray-zone cyber conflicts. Beyond geopolitics, rapid innovation creates intense friction within intellectual property and ethical frameworks. Patent filings in AI and quantum have surged 33% since 2018, severely straining legal systems designed for slower physical invention cycles. A core tension exists between proprietary models that safeguard trade secrets and open-source frameworks that accelerate collaborative R&D but invite malicious forking. Non-practicing entities, commonly known as patent trolls, exploit this IP fragmentation, initiating up to 85% of infringement suits against operating tech firms. On the ethical side, opaque AI decision-making amplifies historical biases, creating severe ethical dilemmas in healthcare diagnostics and autonomous deployment. Biotechnology sparks equally urgent moral debates over heritable human enhancements and the dual-use risk of synthetic bioweapons. This creates the classic pacing problem, where fragmented, slow-moving regulatory frameworks fail to address rapid cross-border technological deployment. However, precautionary overreach risks entrenching well-resourced monopolies by imposing compliance burdens that stifle agile, early-stage startups. What does this disruption mean for our society and the workforce? It is a fine balance between monumental productivity gains and acute structural disruption. Data shows a direct correlation. A 1% increase in AI penetration correlates directly with a 14.2% rise in total factor productivity via routine task automation. Looking ahead, generative AI is projected to elevate U.S. GDP by 1.5% by 2035, driven primarily by knowledge spillovers and cross-domain efficiencies. But the disruption is real. Highly exposed freelance occupations have already experienced measurable contract declines, revealing acute vulnerability in routine cognitive tasks. Historically, labor-displacing automation creates equivalent demand in complementary sectors, averting widespread structural unemployment. However, short-term skill polarization exacerbates inequality, as low-skilled labor faces net declines while high-skilled augmentation thrives. Innovation spillovers naturally seed new ventures, heavily benefiting geographic tech clusters equipped with dense supply chain networks. Ultimately, effective societal adaptation hinges entirely on targeted reskilling, portable safety nets, and absorptive corporate R&D capacity. To conclude, let us tie all these threads together and look at the trajectory for 2030. The overarching theme is the convergence engine. Technologies no longer evolve in isolated silos. They form a singular, interlocking engine of exponential emergence. Look at how these fields interface. Artificial intelligence optimizes quantum hardware error correction, while quantum processors exponentially accelerate AI training. These error-corrected quantum systems then perfectly simulate molecular interactions, compressing drug discovery and biotechnology from years to days. Moving from biotech to materials, synthetic biology engineers novel proteins that act as atomic-scale templates for advanced computing materials. Finally, these nanomaterials enable the production of high-temperature superconductors and stable fusion containment, unlocking the abundant clean power required for infinite AI scaling. By overcoming current physical and regulatory friction points, this total convergence clears the path toward post-scarcity computational and biological manufacturing paradigms, fundamentally redefining what engineers can build.